I moved into this apartment complex about 2 months ago. Nothing special. Two-bedroom place, decent price, mostly quiet. The kind of spot people pass through on their way to something better. I kept to myself mostly, but one neighbor always made an effort to be friendly. Her name was Lana. Mid-30s, artsy vibe, always wearing black clothes and heavy eyeliner even in the middle of the day. We'd pass each other in the hall or the mailroom, say hi, sometimes small talk. One Friday afternoon, she knocked on my door holding this little pink pet carrier. "Hey," she said. "Total favor. Could you feed my cat while I'm gone? I'll only be gone for the weekend, just once each night. I'll owe you big." I hesitated, but I didn't have any real reason to say no. "Yeah, sure," I told her. "Not a problem." She handed me a spare key and gave me 2 instructions. 1 scoop of dry food in the metal bowl. 2, do not feed her after midnight. I kind of chuckled at that. "Like gremlins?" I asked. She didn't laugh. She just looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm serious. No matter what she does, no matter how much she cries, not after midnight." That should have been my red flag right there, but I just nodded, took the key, and said goodnight. The first night, Saturday, I went over around 10:30 p.m. The apartment was dimly lit, smelled faintly like incense and something sour. Her cat, a sleek gray thing named Naira, came right up to me. Super affectionate, rubbing on my leg, meowing like crazy. I gave her the food, locked up, and went back to my place. Easy. Sunday night is when it got weird. I lost track of time playing Warzone and didn't head over until almost 11:50. As I walked in, Naira was already by the door. But this time she looked off. Her pupils were huge, fully dilated. She wasn't purring, just making these low, scratchy whines, almost like a kid trying to cry through a sore throat. I dumped the food into her bowl. She didn't move toward it. Instead, she sat on the kitchen tile staring at me. The second the clock on the microwave hit 12:01, she let out this awful screech. Not a meow, a scream. High-pitched, sharp, unnatural. I backed toward the door. "Hey, it's past midnight, no food now, all right?" I said, half joking, trying to lighten the mood even though my skin was crawling. That's when she lunged, not at me, at the cabinet under the sink. She started clawing and scratching at it like something was inside. I froze for a second, then carefully approached and opened it. Empty. Just cleaning stuff in trash bags. I turned around. Naira was gone. Like, gone. No sound, no movement, just vanished. I called her name softly, checked every room, even under the bed, nothing. But when I stepped into Lana's bedroom, I swear to God. The closet door was wide open, and inside it was pitch black, like unnaturally dark. The hallway lights didn't seem to touch it, and then I heard a whisper, a woman's voice, but not Lana's. It said, "She's hungry." I bolted. I slammed the front door, locked it, and didn't look back. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I considered texting Lana, but I didn't want to sound insane. What would I even say? By afternoon, I worked up the nerve to go check on the place. I opened the door slowly, expecting the worst. Naira was sitting in the living room, completely normal, grooming herself. No signs of aggression, no screams, but the food bowl was empty. Licked completely clean, and sitting right next to it was a second bowl, a cracked ceramic one, bone white, with something red smeared across the rim. I left it alone, locked up, didn't say a word. Lana came back Monday night, knocked on my door to thank me, said everything looked great. Naira seemed happy, she told me, smiling like nothing happened. "You didn't feed her too late, did you?" I just shook my head. "Nope. Stuck to the rules." She nodded slowly. "Good," she said. "Some people don't listen, and Naira doesn't handle that well. I don't talk to her anymore. I don't even look at her when we pass in the hallway. And every night I make damn sure nothing is in my apartment that eats after midnight. About a year ago, I went on a solo camping trip in the Catskill Mountains in New York. I'd been dealing with a lot mentally and just needed to get away from everything. No phone, no people, no noise. Just me, a tent, and the trees. I hiked about 5 miles off the main trail and set up camp by a small creek. It was perfect, secluded, peaceful, and completely silent except for nature. I spent the day collecting firewood and reading, and when the sun went down, I made a small fire and cooked some canned chili. By 10 p.m., I was in my tent, ready to sleep. Around 2 in the morning, I was woken up by a sound, this soft ping like a phone notification. At first, I thought I imagined it. My phone was often in my backpack, and I was way too deep in the woods for a signal. But then I heard it again. Ping. It sounded close, like right outside the tent. I unzipped the flap and peeked out with my flashlight. There was nothing. Just trees and the faint sound of the creek. I was creeped out, but figured it was maybe some random animal or a falling branch making a weird noise. I zipped the tent back up and tried to sleep. The next morning, I found something that made my stomach twist. About 15 feet from my tent, lying right in the dirt, was a smartphone, just sitting there. It was an old Android, screen cracked, a chunk missing from one corner. I picked it up carefully and hit the power button. It turned on. No passcode. The lock screen background was a black and white photo of what looked like the woods at night. I swiped up and saw that there were only 2 apps installed, the camera and the gallery. No contacts, no messages, no service, no data at all, except for the photos. I opened the gallery. There were 19 pictures. The first few were blurry shots of trees, totally unremarkable. But then they got weird. Photo 8, a shot of someone standing in the woods at night, maybe 20 feet from the camera. The flash caught just enough of the figure to make out the arms and legs, but the face was completely blacked out, like it had been smeared or erased. Photo 9. The same figure, now closer. Still no face. Photo 10. Pitch black except for a hand. White, long fingers pressed right up against the camera lens. The last 4 pictures were what really got me. Photo 16 was of a tent. My tent. From maybe 30 feet away. Photo 17 closer to the tent. Photo 18 right up against the zipper. Photo 19 from inside the tent. A blurry, shadowy shape standing over what looked like me, asleep in my sleeping bag. I dropped the phone. Every hair on my body stood up. I grabbed my gear and tore down camp in 10 minutes. I didn't even eat breakfast. I just ran 5 miles nonstop back to my car. Before I left, I went back to where I found the phone and buried it under a pile of rocks. I don't know why. I just didn't want it with me. That night back home, I turned my phone back on. I had one new message. No number, just a blank sender. It said, "You left something behind." I threw my phone across the room. I changed numbers the next day and bought a new device. Nothing's happened since, but I swear sometimes I still hear that ping sound. Usually late at night, always from outside my window. Three years ago, my best friend Dan and I went camping in Lost Pine Forest in Northern California. It's not a popular park, which is exactly why we chose it. No tourists, no kids, just 2 dudes in the woods. We planned a 2-day hike to a remote area that barely anyone visits. It's not even on most maps. Dan had found it through a survival forum online. The first day went great. We hiked deep into the forest, made camp by a small stream, and cooked some hot dogs over the fire. The place was dead silent, no planes overhead, no cars, not even birds after dusk, just trees and darkness. It was peaceful, but it also felt too quiet. That night I woke up needing to pee. It was around 2 a.m. I stepped out of the tent and went just a few feet into the trees. As I was finishing up, I heard something, a voice, faint, distant. "Hey." It sounded like Dan, but not exactly. It came from deeper in the woods. "Dan," I whispered. "That you?" No answer. I waited. The forest was silent again. I told myself it was the wind and went back into the tent. Dan was still asleep, snoring. The next day I didn't mention it. We packed up and hiked further into the forest. Around noon we found a clearing with weird stone formations, small stacks of rocks, almost like crude markers. Dan was fascinated, said it looked like something out of a folklore book. I just felt uneasy. That night the weirdness ramped up. I woke up again around 2:30 a.m. This time I didn't have to pee, I was just awake, no sound, no movement. Until I heard the voice again. "Come here." Same direction, same soft tone, and it still sounded almost like Dan, but wrong. Like someone who'd only heard him speak once, trying to copy him. I unzipped the tent and saw Dan still asleep. The voice came again. "Please." It was closer. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the woods, but saw nothing. No eyes, no movement, just trees. I backed into the tent and zipped it up fast. I lay there, not sleeping until morning. When the sun rose, I finally told Dan what I'd heard. To my surprise, his face went pale. He heard it too. The night before. But he thought it was me trying to mess with him. We decided to head back that day. Neither of us wanted to spend another night out there. But that forest didn't want us to leave. The trail we took in was gone. We walked for hours and couldn't find the path. Landmarks we'd seen the day before, boulders, trees with carvings, were missing. It was like the forest had changed. By late afternoon, we were completely lost. That's when we started hearing the voices again. Not just one this time, multiple, all mimicking people we knew, our moms, a teacher. Each voice soft, distant, calling our names. We didn't answer. We just kept moving. As the sun went down, we stumbled into a small area with a dead tree in the center. It had dozens of scratch marks on the trunk. Some looked like symbols, others like words in a language I didn't recognize. That's when Dan screamed. I turned and saw someone standing behind a tree across the clearing. Except it wasn't someone, it was me. Same clothes, same backpack, same haircut. It smiled at us, but the smile was too wide, the teeth too long. We ran. I don't know how long we ran, maybe an hour. Eventually, we found the stream from our first campsite. We followed it, not stopping until we saw the trailhead in our car. We didn't say a word on the drive back. We still don't talk about it much, but sometimes when I'm alone in the woods or even just near trees, I swear I hear that voice again. Software whispering. "Come here." And I know, if I ever follow it, I won't come back. When I first moved into that apartment, I thought I finally got lucky. The rent was cheap, the building was quiet, and the neighborhood was clean. I didn't question why it was such a deal. I just signed the lease, moved in, and started unpacking. It was a studio on the 4th floor, just enough space for me, my books, and my PC. Nothing fancy, but it felt like mine. For the first month, everything was normal, until I started noticing little things out of place. At first, I thought I was just being forgetful. I'd come home and the light in the bathroom would be on, or the window would be open when I swore I'd closed it. I blamed myself. Then my toothbrush was wet when I hadn't used it yet. The moment I truly knew something was wrong happened late one night. I was gaming, headset on, completely immersed. Around 1 a.m. I heard something, a knock, not on the front door. It came from the wall behind me. I paused my game and waited. Another knock, 3 soft taps. That wall backed up to the empty apartment next door. At least I thought it was empty. The landlord had told me the unit was under renovation and wouldn't be rented for a while. I knocked back out of pure curiosity. Nothing. Then the next day I passed by the apartment while heading out for groceries. The door was slightly open. I couldn't help myself. I peeked inside. It looked exactly like mine. Same layout, same color carpet, even the same dent in the drywall under the kitchen counter. I felt weird, unsettled. I texted the landlord to ask if someone had moved in. He said no, it was still unoccupied and locked. That night I started hearing footsteps. Not above me, inside my own walls, and sometimes right outside my front door. I'd look through the peephole, but no one was ever there. One night I left a piece of tape on the edge of my door frame. The next morning it was peeled back. I changed the locks, bought a small camera and pointed it at the hallway. That was the first time I saw him. 2:14 a.m. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. The footage showed a man standing completely still at my door facing the peephole. Hoodie up, face hidden in shadow. He didn't knock. He just stood there for over a minute, then turned and walked into the apartment next door. The one that was supposed to be empty. I called the cops. They came, checked the hallway, even tried the door next to mine, locked tight. No signs of anyone living there. They told me to call if it happened again. I knew I wasn't crazy. So the next day I did something maybe I shouldn't have. I picked the lock. I know it was illegal, but I needed to know who was living next to me. I watched a few tutorials online, got a cheap kit, and waited until the hallway was empty. It took me a few tries, but I got it open. The place was identical to mine, down to the brand of soap in the bathroom. But it wasn't just a copy, it was a mirror. All my stuff, my books, my cheap black desk, the scratch on my TV stand, it was all duplicated like someone had recreated my entire apartment piece by piece. But older, dustier, slightly off, like they were working from memory. Then I found the photos. Pinned to the wall in the bedroom was a grid of Polaroids. Me brushing my teeth, me sleeping, me at my desk. All taken from angles inside my apartment. I backed out, didn't touch anything, just locked it up and ran. When I got back to my own place, I bolted the door and packed a bag. I was going to leave and stay at a hotel until I figured things out. But when I opened the closet to grab my coat, he was in there, standing, waiting. I only saw his eyes. They were wide, staring straight at me. I slammed the door and ran. I don't know how he got in. I called the cops again, but by the time they showed up, he was gone. No prints, no signs of forced entry, nothing on the camera. I moved out the next day, left everything behind. A few weeks later, I checked the news. That building burned down in an electrical fire. No one was hurt. But in the article, there was one line that made my stomach drop. Firefighters found a hidden crawl space between 2 of the units. Inside were sleeping bags, food wrappers, and photos, lots of them. All of tenants. All taken from inside their apartments. And one more thing. They found a map. It was hand-drawn with every apartment labeled, but only one was circled in red. Mine. I used to think stalkers only targeted celebrities or girls who posted too much online. I don't share my life. I don't even have Instagram. I'm a 26-year-old guy who works night shifts at a distribution center, lives in a quiet apartment, and keeps to myself. This happened last winter, and even now I don't fully understand how deep it went. I don't know who he was, how long he'd been watching me, or if he's still out there. It started small, The first time I thought it was a coincidence. I got home at 3:30 in the morning after a 12-hour shift, freezing, tired, starving. As I unlocked my door, I noticed something sitting on the floor of my porch, a single cup of gas station coffee. No note, no one around. I figured maybe it was a DoorDash delivery dropped at the wrong place. I left it there. Next night it was there again. This time it was fresh, still warm, steam rising. That's when I got uneasy. I lived on the 3rd floor with a locked gate at the bottom and no reason for anyone to leave coffee outside my door. I texted my landlord, asked if cameras were installed. He said no. Night 3, no coffee. Instead, there was a single Polaroid photo. It was of me, sleeping in my bed. I know what my room looks like. The blankets, the posters on the wall, the cheap lamp I leave on, same angle I'd see from the foot of the bed. That's when panic set in. I didn't sleep. I checked every window, every closet. The door was locked. No sign of a break-in. I filed a police report, but they barely took it seriously. They said unless there was a threat or trespass, they couldn't do much. The next night I slept with a baseball bat and woke up to a whisper. I swear to God someone whispered my name. I jolted upright, swung the bat at the dark. No one there. But my front door was wide open. It was locked before I went to bed. I started staying with a friend after that. I felt safer. I even took a few days off work to clear my head. He had a spare room and the building had a security guard. 4 days passed with nothing. Then one night I got a text from an unknown number. "I miss watching you sleep." I didn't respond. I showed it to my friend. He told me not to go home, not even to get stuff. We both thought maybe it was someone I knew, someone from work or something. So we set up a plan. He had an extra security camera. We decided to go back to my place during the day and set it up, just in case the guy came back. We installed it pointing right at the front door. It was motion activated, would alert my phone if anything moved. I didn't sleep at the apartment that night. At 2:17 a.m. my phone buzzed, motion detected. I opened the app. The footage was grainy black and white, but clear enough. A man was standing in front of my door. Thin, tall, hoodie pulled low over his face. He was holding something. He pressed his face against the peephole for nearly 30 seconds, then placed something on the ground and walked away without a sound. We rushed over first thing in the morning. The object? A plastic Ziploc bag. Inside was a clump of my hair and a USB flash drive. My stomach dropped. We didn't open it right away. We called the cops again, who finally started taking it seriously after they saw the video. They took the flash drive in for evidence, but we never heard back about it. The visit stopped after that. No more coffee, no photos, no whispering. I moved 2 months later, changed numbers, got a new job on the other side of town. I even got a dog for extra security. Life went back to normal. Until last week. I was going through a box I hadn't opened since moving. It was stuff from my old apartment. Random junk, papers, cables. At the bottom of the box was the flash drive. I thought the cops took it. Curiosity got the best of me. I plugged it into my laptop, half expecting a virus. It had one file, a folder labeled Sleeping Beauty. Inside were dozens of video clips. Each one was a short, silent night vision recording. All of me, sleeping. Sometimes the angle was from the window. Other times, it was right beside my bed. In some clips, I'm moving, twitching, talking in my sleep. In one, I clearly opened my eyes for a second and they immediately slammed shut again, like I was drugged. But the last clip was the worst. It was filmed in my new apartment, with my new bed, the new dog lying asleep at my feet. It was time-stamped last week. The video is only 12 seconds long. Nothing moves. But at the very end, just before it cuts off, the camera turns, and there's a reflection in the mirror across from the bed. A tall figure, wearing a hoodie, holding the camera, smiling. Last fall, I decided to take a week off from work and unplug. No emails, no texts. Just me, some books, and the quiet of the woods. I found this cabin online. Cheap, off-grid, about 2 hours outside the city. The ad said it was perfect for solitude. Looking back, the price should have been a red flag, but I booked it. I needed the break. When I got there, it was exactly what I expected. Tiny, dusty, and completely alone. No neighbors for miles. The nearest town was 30 minutes away. No Wi-Fi, no cell signal. Just a fireplace, a bed, and a small generator for lights. It felt peaceful. Until the second night. I just finished dinner and was reading by the fire when I heard it. A soft knock on the window behind me. I froze. I hadn't seen a single person since I arrived. The cabin was surrounded by trees and it was pitch black outside. I slowly turned and looked at the window. Nothing. Just my reflection and the darkness beyond it. I told myself it was a branch, the wind, maybe an animal, but I didn't sleep well. The next morning I found footprints, not mine. They circled the cabin, no shoes, bare feet. Whoever it was had walked right up to every window, just watching. I packed my stuff. I was going to leave, but my car wouldn't start. Battery was dead. I don't know how. It worked fine when I got there. I checked my phone, still no signal. That's when I started feeling it, the sense that I wasn't alone. I started noticing little things. The chair on the porch was facing a different direction. My toothbrush was on the floor. The back door, which I never used, was unlocked. On the fourth night, I heard whispering. It was so faint I thought I was imagining it, but it was coming from under the cabin. There was a crawl space down there, maybe 3 feet high, with a grate covering the entrance. I grabbed the flashlight and went outside, shined it under the cabin. Nothing, just dirt and darkness. But that night I had a dream. Someone was inside the cabin, standing over me as I slept. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. I felt breath on my neck. I woke up drenched in sweat and the front door was wide open. I should have left then. I should have walked until I hit a road or town, but I was scared. Not of the woods, of whoever was out there. On the last night, I set up a trap. I placed my phone by the window with the camera recording pointed at the porch. Just in case, I barely slept. I just waited, heart pounding, every creak of the cabin making my skin crawl. At 3:17 a.m., I heard it again. Not on the window this time, on the wall next to my bed. No footsteps, no voices, just slow, rhythmic tapping. I stayed completely still, didn't move. Eventually it stopped. In the morning I checked the footage. For the first 2 hours, nothing. Just the porch. But at 2:43 a.m., a man stepped into frame. Tall, thin, dirty hoodie, no shoes. He stood perfectly still for nearly 10 minutes. Then walked to the window and stared directly into the camera, like he knew it was there. But that wasn't the worst part. He pulled out a key, unlocked the front door, walked inside, and never came out. The video ended after that, but I was still alive. I was still there. So where did he go? I tore that cabin apart looking for him. Under the bed, in the closets, even under the floorboards. Nothing. But when I went outside one last time, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Scratches all around the cabin, on the trees, on the walls, even on the inside of the windows. Words over and over. I live here now. I left everything behind and ran until I found a gas station. Called the cops, showed them the video. They went out there, searched the cabin, found no one. But under the crawl space, they found a mattress, a pile of clothes, and dozens of empty food wrappers. Whoever he was, he'd been living under the cabin the whole time, watching, waiting. And the key, it wasn't mine.